got to talk about these ants. We got to get this out of the way.
Before we start, we should do one last ant check.
I did, dude. There's no stopping them, man. There's no stopping them. They're everywhere.
Welcome.
I got the major one.
Welcome to the Rad Dudecast. Greg is in the middle of an ant crisis.
Yeah, I will discuss my ant crisis.
I can't set up your ant.
No.
Fine.
This is how this can't wait.
No,
this can't wait for
no time. You know what? These people.
The ants wait for nobody.
Okay, go ahead.
I got a thing.
Why should we?
You're in the midst of vacuuming. I thought I'd set you up, tee you up, MC you up, bring you onto the stage, and you say, no, I can't talk about it. So fine, I won't talk about it. Welcome to the Rad Dudecast. There's no ant problem. Bro. There's no ant problem going on at Greg's house.
There's a significant ant problem going on at my house. Yesterday during the Amazing Race, somehow because of Anthony's Amazing Race, we must have brought him back from Burma.
Probably, yeah.
The whole house, my whole room was covered in ants. I'm telling you, a piece of egg was on the floor or something, and I'm saying 5,000 ants. I didn't even notice. I saw one on my computer. I said, "Ooh, that's weird, an ant on my computer screen." I looked down. My leg is covered in ants, like I was black, and they were seeping up my body like a symbiote, like an alien, like an evil alien was taking over my body. And now I've gotten about 99% of them. They're walking around inside this Dyson thing.
You got to throw that Dyson out after this. They've taken over the inside of the Dyson. If those are burning, yeah. Go ahead, Brendan.
I get ants on my computer a lot.
Well, that means that's a sign. That's a sign that they're everywhere.
Well,
because once they start trying to educate themselves, that means they're looking to take over.
It's because I search for them on X-Hamster.
Ant porn.
Ant porn?
Yeah, AUNT.
Oh, you get little aunts.
Yeah, aunts.
Tiny aunts.
I got aunts all over my computer screen.
Give you miniature birthday gifts.
And they're always saying, but he's my nephew. Okay.
That is one of the best porns. We talked about that. I love that one.
Yeah, that
dude,
one.
There was an ad on my computer screen in a Google search history. It said, how to run a small podcast. I said, I never looked up small podcast before. These guys are trying to take over the podcast studio.
Oh, God, this is horrible. And
well, ants are known to be attracted to excellent audio equipment. So I don't know. You're either going to have to throw those cameras out or deal with these ants, man. You can't have one or the other.
I'm also, I'll be honest, feel sort of stupid.
Why?
Because it's never occurred to me, any type of ant infestation I've ever run into, I've smashed them. It's never occurred to me to vacuum them, and that seems like a way better way, what you're doing. Did you invent that, or is that a known way?
I mean, I think it's one of those things that everyone kind of invents when you get to a point, you know? Like, I was smashing them too, but then when you have so many, you got to pull out bigger guns, you know? And I had to pull out just get them, just start vacuuming these motherfuckers up. I try to vacuum
Dyson.
Yeah. The Dyson, it's one of the leading things. It's one of the best vacuums for ants. Oh, my God. They're running around on the inside of this thing.
I don't know why it's not labeled as that.
This is crazy. This is so bad that I'm wondering if I should even be doing the podcast. I might need to be getting professional help.
What do you think those ants inside the Dyson, what do you think they think just happened to them?
They're in a New Jersey carnival ride.
Yeah,
they
like Toy Story.
Around.
They might think they're in heaven. Like the what's that thing called where they come just everyone disappears? That's supposed to happen.
Oh, the
one
rapture.
Day? The rapture. Do you think they think they've been raptured?
Yeah, they think they've been good little ants and they're being taken to ant heaven for all their great deeds.
Yeah, I think this.
I wonder. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
No, you get up here, you see all your cousins and your friends and your sisters that have been vacuumed before you, and you're at one with them. Oh my God! Look, one on my hand.
What's the species? What are we talking about? The small black type.
Small black.
Yeah, those are tough. Those are tough to beat. They'll just keep coming. They keep coming for some reason.
I keep coming.
I keep crushing them in my toes.
I wonder if you eat because we've all ate like an ant in our life, right?
No, no. What do you mean we've all eaten ant?
Well, you get so many, or you're lying down on the ground, whatever it is. Like you've had an ant.
Statistically.
Statistically, yeah, there you go. And they don't taste like anything. One ant doesn't. But I wonder, since we have such a large collection of ants, I wonder if you ate enough at the same time, if they would produce a taste.
You want me to eat a few?
Oh, yes. Yeah, eat a few. Take a handful.
Yeah, I do.
I've seen that on a television program, them eat like a giant sort of fried rainforest ant, those big 2-inchers. It looked pretty good because it was crunchy.
Yeah, there's sources of protein in a lot of countries. They just look at them as sources of protein, but they're so tiny that I don't
understand.
They don't emit a taste anytime I've ever ate an ant.
They always say protein, but it's like, how many? You need 500 of them to eat?
That's what I mean.
We got plenty.
I think,
Greg, why are you just brushing over him talking about every time I've eaten an ant? How many times have you? And the fact that you're talking about the taste means you weren't asleep when you ate an ant. You've just purposefully eaten ants. When has this occurred?
We were all kids once, no?
Also, you lived in Hawaii. Yeah, look, I got 5 on my hand. I'm going to eat them right now.
Yeah, eat them up, man. You're going to find that they don't really taste – there's a crunch to them, but they don't taste like anything. And I just wonder that if you get enough together, if they kind of taste like a raisin or something.
They have to taste like something, I would say. Because even water, which we say tastes like – that's tasteless sort of.
Sure.
That's just tasteless because that's what our brain is conditioned as neutral. Like it tastes like something, I think.
That brings on the old philosophical argument of the absence of taste itself is a taste.
Right. Yes, exactly. I guess I could have put it better. Yeah, exactly. You're tasting something. Now, I had a problem this morning, and I would like to get back. I dropped one of my nicotine lozenges. Don't think don't want to get back to these ants, but I had a problem this morning. I don't know if you guys ever have this problem. I didn't know if my water went sour, if I had bad water, or if because I ate some pineapple, maybe I got a case of sweet mouth. So my mouth was making my water bad because my mouth had been sweetened up. So the water in comparison was bad. I didn't know. So I had to redo my water, my big water jug. Seemed to taste a little better, but I think I got sweet mouth.
You might, man. And that's why you have to eat something more, eat something more robust to cleanse the palate. You know
so because you know that you don't have COVID, right?
That's true.
Because you're constantly tasting.
Oh yeah, but that's not always. That's not always a symptom.
Michael Barbaro today was talking about how it's all mutating. We've got 1 million different strands of COVID already. We could even have a California strain tomorrow, and there's no escaping it. We're all going to die. I didn't get to that part of the podcast, but I think he was going to set us up for a we're all going to die situation. Anyway, I don't really care. These ants are going to kill me.
Are they naming them cool stuff like strains of weed?
Purple Kush.
OG Kush.
Yeah. Like Chewbacca COVID. This has a smooth come on, but you might get a little tired, then you die.
I can't. I mean, if they are having all these new strains, you can use that before we know a lot about them. You can use that for anything that happens on your body to cover it up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
You could just blame it on COVID.
Yes.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Give me an example. Be like, well, you would be like, no, it's not that I'm impotent. I just have the Nevada COVID.
Yes.
Which, I have a flaccid penis all the time.
It's a sickness, and now you've got it. That's worse than saying I've just got AIDS. You essentially have an STD. COVID's an STD as well. It definitely is a TD, but it's also an STD if you're having sex. So if you're like, oh, I have an impotent, but I also have COVID, you're gonna be, well, then why are you fucking me? You shouldn't be fucking me with COVID.
Yeah. It's your fault. You're a bad, yeah.
Then you have to do the quick turnaround on it where you go, oh, well, you gave it to me. You gave me this impotence COVID. I didn't have it when we started.
What if there's a strand of COVID which makes you think you have ants all over your apartment? You really don't.
It's very possible. I should get tested.
He is. It is funny because like we obviously cannot see the ants, so because they're so small, and so this camera angle is sort of just like mounted in the corner of a mental hospital where like a schizophrenic who just thinks there's an ant problem, and the doctors are like, now watch, he'll just keep vacuuming the same area. He's been at it for 6 hours. The area is clean.
Yeah, great. Is there any way to get your camera to turn black and white?
Yeah. And occasionally have a Japanese ghost.
Have you guys ever been high and had an ant problem? Because that's happened to me, where I'm a little high and then the ants become double worse because you just start feeling them way more than they are. So it's the worst. That's why I can't smoke pot when I have these ant problems, because I just feel like they're crawling all over me.
Well, I had a very similar thing, almost identical, really. I should have said yes because I was on mushrooms, and unexpectedly a midget came into my dorm room, and it was wild. It really threw everyone for a loop because we didn't know there was a midget coming. Nobody knew this midget, and when you're tripping, that's a real fucking mind bender as to why that person's so small.
They should. I'm not saying just for midgets, but for anybody who's got a thing that's a little different, they should have shirts that say, it's not that you're high, I do look like this. You know what I mean? Like, if you got a guy who's got like a giant, who's like a giant elephant nose, and it's like, no, it's not the drugs. This is normal. I look like this all the time.
It's only fair.
This is my real nose.
Yeah.
This is hard because
is it distracting?
Well, it's terribly distracting not because of the noise or anything, but because I like your attention. But at the same time, I'm giving you a huge amount of credit because if I had ants, I would say I would cancel the podcast. So I think you're being a warrior right now, but it is difficult because I value more than anything Greg's love.
I'll let you guys. You guys can do this one on your own.
Wait. That's the
Brendan's
worst answer.
Nightmare. For 40 minutes.
Well, we can call somebody in. You want to call somebody in so that you have someone to talk to? Because I know it's so hard for you just to talk to Anthony.
No, I can talk to Anthony. I just want to make sure you're okay. I don't think.
No, we can get somebody on here who's like a real friend of yours.
What? No. See now.
Let's call it.
Now, Anthony, let me tell you what happened this morning, and I was telling Greg about this. I woke up at 3:45 a.m. like Mark Wahlberg. I wrote some jokes.
Hang on, I got it. Mark Wahlberg wakes up at 3:45 a.m.
You've never seen Mark Wahlberg's daily schedule?
He works out like 4 times a day.
Harumi, pull
up
Mark Wahlberg's daily schedule. It's definitely not true. Wait till you see this. Harumi's gonna pull it up. It's crazy what he claims his life is. Can you find that and show me what he says that his lifestyle is bonkers? Because at some point you have to live on society's schedule. Like you can't just make up your own independent way that life goes. Wait till you see this thing. It's it was like big news a couple years ago because someone asked him like how he stays so fit, and he published his daily schedule, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen.
He probably added a few hours too. He probably wakes up at 5, but he's like, I wake up at 2. He's trying to beat the Rock, you know?
Yeah, and it's also like I saw it and I was like, okay, maybe you did this once. This isn't your day. This isn't your daily driver. Okay, so here's his schedule. 2:30 a.m.
wake up.
2:30 a.m. wake up. 2:45 a.m. prayer time. 3:15 a.m. breakfast. 3:40 to 5:15 workout. 5:30 a.m. post-workout meal. So he had breakfast at 3:15. Now he's got another meal at 5:30. 6 a.m. shower. 7:30 a.m. golf. 8 a.m. snack. Golf doesn't take half an hour. I guess maybe he practices.
Took an hour and a half.
The shower took an hour and a half.
Yeah.
No, that
There's
makes
also-
sense. I do that. I do a 2-hour shower every day.
Yeah.
Also, Anthony, go. Also, Anthony just dropped off.
No, I'm here. I thought you said Anthony go,
also.
but then you said also.
So
yeah, I was
golf.
saying the thing. I was doing your word. You know, where I just say the last word you said. Keep it going. Also, go ahead.
Snack.
Oh.
Golf takes a half hour. Snack then takes an hour and a half. Then at 9:30, he's in the cryo chamber recovery for an hour. Another snack
Yeah,
at
but what was Anthony
10:30.
gonna say?
I
never
have no idea. It happened a long time ago at this point, man. There's no way I can go back to wherever that was.
All right.
11 a.m.
So
I wake up at his. Yeah. Go ahead.
So then he's got some random shit family stuff, and then 4 o'clock he's got his second workout. 5 o'clock shower, 5:30 dinner, family time. He's in bed by 7:30. That's Mark Wahlberg's daily schedule.
I wake
pretty
up at
wild.
his lunchtime and I go to bed when he's doing his post-workout meal at 5:30 a.m. It's crazy that I'm kind of tired, and then Mark is in the middle of a post-workout meal.
When you
That's
go
crazy.
to bed, you should be telling yourself, Mark Wahlberg is already eating his second meal of the day.
Yeah.
But
That's crazy.
But like at some point, you have to be on society's schedule. Like no one's ever called Mark Wahlberg at 7:45.
He's also an actor too, right? So he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that means for me. What do you mean?
Well, he's
an
also
actor.
working at some point, right? He's not just this is
Yeah,
every
right.
single day.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Those are his days off. Yeah.
Yeah.
When does he write? Doesn't have act in there. It just say 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Act.
Yeah, run a
He doesn't
burger
open his
restaurant.
craft. Where's the acting?
Wahlburger.
The Wahlburgers?
He takes 2 showers too. That seems unnecessary.
Well, he works out twice.
Oh, okay.
I also take 2 showers sometimes. Also, he has no masturbation time noted in there. If he's
Hour and a half shower.
Well,
An hour and a half
I would say
shower.
this: there's 2:30. There's a 15 minutes that's unaccounted for between waking up and that prayer time. There's a 15-minute window where it doesn't take 15 minutes to wake up. I mean, I kind of get maybe what he's saying, but there's stuff in there that I think he's leaving out.
Yeah,
What
of
if he
course.
gets
you got
ants
to.
too.
Yeah. For my
Yeah,
schedule,
exactly.
is wakes up 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Clean ants. 10 a.m. to 11. Kill ants. It's kill ants all day. It's 24 hours of killing ants. That's my schedule now.
No prayer.
Also, it's like, what if one thing happens? You know what I mean? Like, what if anything happens? Like, what happens to the schedule?
What do you mean? Like one thing, like he gets into a car accident?
It's 9/11 or something.
Yeah, no, it's not even a car accident. Just he drops an egg on the ground.
Oh, no
Like,
time to pick it up.
Yeah.
That's what rich people do. Pay person to pick up any mistakes I make during the day. Yeah, I mean, how stressful is that? If your coffee takes too long to get made at the coffee shop, you're like, you are cutting into 15 workouts. Who could plan their day like that? That's crazy. Who wants to live like that? You know how I wake up every morning? I go, I have no idea what the next 15 hours is going to be. No idea. Maybe I'll get some writing done. Maybe I'll do it. That's probably why I'm not successful.
Well, also, it seems to me this is just completely arbitrary because why couldn't he just live the exact same schedule but go to bed? So he's got 7:30 as his bedtime, right? And
Yeah.
he wakes up at 2:30. How about we just add 3 hours on each end, go to bed at 10:30, wake up at 5:30. And then you're living a normal man's life.
So there's two
You know-
arguments to that. One, I understand. I've heard people make this argument before that when you wake up that early, no one else is awake. But also, no businesses are awake. So what can you do?
Right.
You can't call anyone either. Two, if you wake up early but go to bed at 7, it doesn't count. You know, it doesn't. You went to bed at 7. If you woke up at 3 o'clock and then you said, but I go to bed at 11 p.m. every night, it's like, wow, this guy's working more. He's putting in more time. But you're doing the same amount of awake time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's I don't know if I even believe it as that. I don't know if I believe that that's what Wahlberg's running.
This was all a ploy to take away from the attack that he blinded an Asian man 50 years ago. That's when this came
Why he
out.
praised so
When he
much.
punched. Yeah, for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Does anyone know if that guy ever forgave him?
I
Or
don't
if he
think-
ever gave
I
that
don't
guy
think-
$20 million?
No, he didn't blind him. He wasn't blinded. It was a hate crime against a Vietnamese man, but he didn't blind him.
he blinded him or he blinded one eye. I would Google it. Harumi, Google it.
Harumi, Google it. He did. I mean, he was a teenager. That doesn't make it right. But I mean, there's stuff on the record what he was saying that was pretty gnarly, racist stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, he was like a tough kid from Boston, like a tough white Irish Catholic kid from Boston. It's like, yeah, of course he's racist. You know what I mean? Like, you're been to
You gotta
Boston.
grow out of that. Yeah, you gotta grow out of it.
He seems to have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not all into forgiveness. You know, I'm into forgiving people. But I also think if I made $1 million the amount of money he would, the guy who I thought he blinded, if he didn't, then it's fine. But if there was a guy I did some shit like that to, they would be getting a check.
I agree.
That if I regretted that, they'd be getting a check. Big check.
Well, if he blinded him, certainly. Even if he didn't blind him, he should be doing something. Maybe make a cultural center of that some sorts.
Give the guy some free Wahlburgers at least, right?
Well, that's kind of a slap in the face. That's sort of.
That's what he gave him. So wait, I don't even know what happened.
So when he was, well, Harumi's finding out. Greg thinks he blinded a guy. I think he just kind of beat him up. He hit some guy with a stick, like he was with a group of kids. I think he was 15, and it was a racially motivated attack on a Vietnamese man in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And this was before he started making music with the Funky Bunch?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well before. Now, what's interesting is it might not have been before because he was 15. New Kids on the Block might have already been going. So Donnie might have already been big. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
But that would give him more reason to be angry, you know, when you have an older brother who's doing great and you're a nobody.
Yeah, you think that it's crazy how that flip-flopped on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a time when Donnie really thought, that's sort of no, never mind.
Well, it's still weird just to be like, well, I was only in New Kids on the Block. It's like he still can walk outside and get 1 billion people screaming his name. He could still, you know, get butts, and he's still more famous than we are. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
it's crazy
sure.
to be like, oh, my brother's Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, but you're still one of the biggest bands of all time.
Well, isn't Entourage kind of based on them?
I think so.
Because there's the older brother in Entourage who was a big star growing up, and now Vince is the big star.
Yeah.
I think, and Wahlberg's an executive producer of that show. So
yeah.
I think Entourage is sort of loosely based on the Wahlberg brothers. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if because I don't know that the brother is as. I think that character formed himself. What's that character's name? Not Vince. What's his name? What's the older brother's name?
I forget the older brother's name.
Johnny Drama?
Yeah,
Johnny
Drama.
Johnny
So
Drama.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just asking if you think that that's based on because he kind of became his own character. I don't know if that's really Donnie per se, because he was kind of like an oof, like a doof.
What the fuck?
No, but I think what I've read is that it's like loosely based because it's a brother who was a star. Because Johnny Drama was a big deal. In the show, they'd make it clear he was a big deal when he was younger.
Yeah, Viking? Was that Viking show?
Yeah, whatever.
Viking Quest.
Yeah, Viking Quest.
What is this?
Johnny Drama is a funny character in a show that got picked up by the wrong fans, I would say.
Yeah.
But Johnny Drama himself is he's a very funny character in and of itself, and he's played very well. Yeah,
I would argue like he was one of the reasons the show was watchable. He was fun, and that's like what kept the show moving. And what's the name? But it was Johnny Drama who know who he is? He was Walnuts, Paulie Walnuts, from Sopranos fame. You know, like he was the guy who they just put on. It was like they probably had no idea how good and funny he was going to be. Paulie Walnuts could have played Johnny Drama.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yes,
little old bit.
Right. Yeah.
Harumi, Anthony, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Mark Wahlberg.
That's fine. Nothing else.
He did he blinded a Vietnamese guy half blind, so he messed up one of the guy's eyes, and the guy forgave him.
The guy forgave him?
Yeah, so it had a happy ending in the end of the story.
Wow,
well,
that's
Greg,
crazy.
You were correct. I owe you an apology. I did not know about the half blinding.
You didn't insult me about it.
I insulted you by not believing you.
Oh, I didn't know you didn't believe me. I thought you just thought something else.
I did think something else, but is that what belief is?
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Oh,
Yeah, all right. I accept the apology. Accepted.
Thank you. Now,
There
so
are ants crawling over my legs. Sorry. Go ahead, Anthony.
So, Anthony, I tried to do a Wahlberg this morning. I didn't try to.
Okay.
Basically, what happened is at 3:45, I woke up really thirsty and also had to pee, but then I just wasn't tired at all. So I was like, all right, let's get productive, And so I wrote, and so I start making coffee. I have so much coffee. I wrote some jokes, I sent out all these emails, did a lot of emailing. And then I worked out. I worked out for like an hour and 20 minutes. I drank too much coffee. Immediately after the workout, I just was projectile vomiting into the toilet.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just horrifically. And then just had to go back to bed till about 20 minutes ago. So I can't live the Wahlberg lifestyle. I started strong, but I had to immediately go back to sleep and my stomach still hurt. So this guy, he must be doing no coffee. I don't know what he's doing.
We should do a week of Wake Up Wahlberg schedule.
People have tried it.
Schedule.
Yeah.
Why do we make our own? Wake up at 3:45. We should all come next week with something to add to the schedule. Next week, we'll do a planning of a Rad Dudecast week. I think that'll be fun. We should go through what we want to do, and then we'll add it to our schedule, and we'll make everybody do that for 1 week.
No, how about just a day? Well, you're talking the daily schedule, and we have to do that daily schedule the whole week, or we're scheduled out the whole week?
We could just say if someone will do a Rad Dude day, we could do one Rad Dude day. We'll schedule it. You do one Rad Dude day on your day off. I'm sorry. I have to the ants are crawling out of this vacuum, and I'm just covering the
that
top.
plan wouldn't work.
Well, the thing is, you got to release as soon as you vacuum up, you got to throw them in the garbage or in the sink. You can't do a podcast.
That's fine, man. Me and Anthony got this. Go on
right back.
Friday Night Greg or whatever you want to. Now, I didn't mean go on the show. I meant, that's his screensaver. I wasn't trying to be like, go do your own. You know what I mean?
Do a separate podcast in the living room.
But yeah, so it gave me new respect for Wahlberg because I made it till about 8 a.m. right back in bed, sick in my guts.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't say the first time he might have tried this, that's what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's only saying this is what he does now. But he doesn't mention that, like, yeah, when you first start the Wahlberg routine, you're going to projectile vomit on the first day for like 4 hours, and then you just have to go back to bed. Also, he doesn't make any mention of going to the bathroom, which leads me to believe he's got some other system going on of waste removal.
Yes, like that crazy astronaut who used diapers to go try and stalk her ex-husband or something.
Yeah, I think there's more to this Wahlberg routine that he's not mentioning that you need. Like, when you go to cook something and they're like, hey, you could cook this in 15 minutes, but it doesn't account for you buying all the spices and cutting up the vegetables and stuff like that. There's a lot he's leaving out on this routine that needs to be set in place for it to be done this way.
Yeah, I agree. If you've ever, first of all, I will say this is why people say like money can't buy happiness. And I think that's true. There's a lot of super rich, super depressed people. But what it can do, it makes your life so much easier. Like, Rumi, can you pull up a picture of Mark Wahlberg's home gym? It's crazy. Like, so in order to work out, like you or I have to go to the gym. We have to wait for shit. This guy has a commercial grade, beautiful gym in his home where it's like, yeah, that makes it a lot easier to be jacked. Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse to not be jacked, but like when you just have to like walk out of the living room and you're in a gym by accident, well, then you might as well get a few reps in. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, absolutely.
That's his house.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane.
That's for like multiple, for one guy. He uses all those weights.
I mean, there's an upstairs. There's practically an office.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would have any of that. There's a full boxing ring.
I hope he doesn't let anyone else use it.
Yeah,
like,
that's so funny.
This is Mark Wahlberg's gym. What do you think you're doing? This is Mark Wahlberg's gym.
Boxes by himself in that ring. Yeah.
Man, I only have the TRX that's hanging outside my balcony. If it rains, I can't work out
that's, you know what I mean? Like, that's the limitations that I have upon myself. Yeah, that's insane.
Hey, so for those of you that are only listening audio, Google Mark Wahlberg's home gym. I mean, it's like he's got a full boxing ring. He's got everything in there.
Of course, you work out twice a day if you got all this. You got that kind of gym. Yeah.
They keep
of course.
They keep talking about a fighter, which I thought The Fighter was an amazing movie. I love The Fighter. Did you watch The Fighter?
I love The Fighter.
I love The Fighter. They keep what'd you say?
No, nothing. Well, nothing. Go ahead, man.
They keep saying there's gonna be a sequel, because like the greatest part of his career, like after that comeback happened, he had a trilogy of fights that are legendary with Arturo.
Mickey Ward?
Yeah, Mickey Ward had a trilogy of fights with Arturo Gatti, and they beat like through it, like were enemies and then became best friends. And then Arturo Gatti eventually died under very suspicious circumstances. Seems to have been killed by his wife, but that's I don't know if we got to add that. But they keep talking like they're going to make this they're going to make this sequel that features those three fights, and it's like, yeah, Wahlberg's 53. What are you talking about? When are you gonna? You got to do this now. Like you can't. This is not. The guy was fighting when he was 31 years old. You can't just keep putting this off. The guy's 53 years old. I don't care if he's got a boxing. He's gonna have to play the older brother, the crackhead fella.
Yeah, I don't. He's yeah, I guess like Stallone kind of does this too. Somehow with Stallone, it doesn't. I don't know. Like he still seems all right, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but Rocky is like fictional. So then you can be like, well, yeah, there's a 65-year-old boxer. That's in that world that happens, you know. But like Mickey Ward, I mean, now granted, Wahlberg does look pretty young for his age. Because I do think he's in his 50s. I'm not sure. Let me check that. I'll double check.
He does cryotherapy.
Yeah, he does do cryotherapy. My sister does. My sister likes cryotherapy. I'd like to try it sometime, although it seems too cold.
Yes. I didn't have much about cryotherapy.
What did I walk in on?
He's 49.
I was talking about cryotherapy and Mark Wahlberg's age. He's 49 years old.
He's 49, yeah.
Well, so, Mickey Ward, I mean, he probably looks better at 49 than Mickey Ward ever did.
Yeah, well, of course. Mickey Ward had Mickey Ward's face, you know? Mickey Ward was not an attractive man.
Yeah, but even Mickey Ward's body, he wasn't like an Adonis.
No. He was never like cut up. Like no. A little bit, probably at weigh-in, maybe when you're cutting weight, but not. Sure. Yeah.
But compared to Gotti, like I mean, Gotti wasn't. You know what I mean? Like very. I mean, Mickey Ward didn't look like I would never see him on the street and be like, "That's an athlete." You know, if I saw him in street clothes.
Yeah. No. Well, I think you might. Like in his prime. Mickey Ward was pretty fit. I don't know. Can you pull up a picture of Mickey Ward during the Arturo Gatti fight? See what he looks like.
Also, Anthony, when people see me on the street, they don't go, "That guy's an athlete." But I'm like an extreme rollerblader still to this, you know. So
yeah, that's just true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he's very muscular.
Check out that. Huh?
I'm wrong. Maybe when I was a kid, I was in better shape. So when I saw people, I was like, yeah, they look like me. What's the big deal? You know?
Yeah. I saw these guys doing a super lightweight the other day or something. I forgot who they was, but they looked like little boys. They had little boys' bodies, and they were little boys. And I said, we're just watching little boys fight now? It was crazy.
The UFC goes down to like 120 or something, right?
The craziest part about those like strawweight, those featherweight guys, they're so small. And they would fuck us up. They would just wreck us in a fight. And
they
it's
cut
crazy.
From like 160, right? To like 120.
No. You know, a lot of the smaller guys don't cut as much. A lot of the smaller guys are they tend to be short and are naturally pretty light. I mean, it's a huge advantage if you can fight at your walking around weight. because fighting after a cut is hard. So it's a huge. I mean, some of those guys that cut, 20, 30 pounds in a week, that fucks you up, man. And you rehydrate before the fight and you eat, but it still fucks you up. You're tired. Your body's fucked up. So if you are a guy who's lucky enough to fight at your natural weight range, you have a huge advantage. Huge advantage.
Like homeless people. They're always fighting at their own weight, whatever their weight is.
Yeah, they never cut. They never cut. Well, they're kind of always on a cut, because they got to eat whatever they find, so it's harder. So they're always cutting weight. But there's another great boxing movie is Bleed for This with Miles Teller. Which, by the way, does anyone know what happened to Miles Teller? Because I thought that guy was the next big thing.
I don't know who that is.
Usually they just start a family, That's why they're being good family men.
He's the kid. He's the kid from Whiplash, Greg. I thought he was the next greatest actor in the world.
He's been doing movies. Yeah, he's still doing movies.
Is he? He's doing all right?
I'm sure he's fine.
He was the poor man's guy from the Facebook, who was the poor man's guy from Arrested Development.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I see. He's a triple poor man. So he's a poor man, Jesse Eisenberg, who was the rich man's Michael Cera, and so he's 3 levels below them.
Don't hold this against me, but I heard that guy Miles Teller was actually an asshole in real life. I don't know if it's true or not.
Under what circumstances would I hold that against you?
Well, I mean, I might be wrong. If you know the guy and you're like, nah, he's actually nice, feel free to comment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that he was like a big asshole, so maybe that's why he's not getting a lot of work.
That could be the thing, because I thought he was really going to blow up. But anyway, he's in this movie Bleed for It? I can't remember. And it's about Vinnie Paz from Rhode Island, who was this great boxer. He was in a horrific car crash. They told him he might never walk again, and he made it back and won the boxing championship. And I was like, why? And it's a great movie. And I was like, why is this movie not the most famous movie ever? This is the craziest story. Why is this guy not the most famous boxer of all time? And I looked it up, and it turns out because he's a horrible, horrible man. And the movie just sort of ignored that. He's got all sorts of domestic abuse charges and check fraud and just a criminal and a piece of shit, and held him back.
Man, I've been watching Dick Cavett interviews from the 70s or 50s. It's like the guy was on forever. It's like before, it's like the 60s, 70s, it's like everything.
Yeah.
And there was this guy, Gore Vidal was talking to this guy, Taylor, what the fuck was his name? Something Mailer. He was
Norman Mailer.
Norman Mailer, right?
Horrible man. Punched a woman in the face.
Let me finish. Come on, man. There's a reason I'm setting things up. So the guy keeps arguing, and I'm like, who's this guy? Let me look him up. Look at him. Punched a woman. He didn't punch a woman. He stabbed a woman he stabbed his wife in the stomach and then got 3 months on it. And it's like, whoa, all right. But yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I got excited about Norman Mailer.
I know, but then you say it, and then I have nothing to talk about. And I go, well, there it is. There you go.
I didn't know that's what you were getting at. I thought you were going to get at you discovered he was a horrible guy.
Yeah. Let me just finish and then throw in your part at the end. Add the
You're right.
Add the heat to the end.
You're right. I apologize.
No.
You're right.
Don't apologize. Just be better. You know what I mean? I was just kidding. That was me trying to make
be better. You be better. You're vacuuming the whole time.
Yeah, I got ants crawling all over me.
Greg, did you put on pants?
I had to put on pants.
I
had to go down and get this bug killer from my landlord.
Oh, wow.
Home Defense. This stuff don't do nothing. I'm pretty sure it's just seltzer.
No, that you got to read the warning on that. That seems highly toxic. Yeah, that I would not assume that's seltzer.
Let's read what this thing says. It's got it says safe for use around the house. It's just seltzer. Active ingredients, seltzer. And other ingredients. 99.9% are other ingredients. That's bifethin. Seltzer and bifethin. Whatever bifothin is, I don't know what bifothin is.
I mean, the truth is, seltzer kills ants. I would assume.
It drowns them, right?
Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah.
Ants can't survive a dousing in seltzer.
They get caught in the little bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bubble to the top. Let me see. Oh yeah,
So who's
this thing,
Gore
I got this spray all
Vidal?
over.
That's a name I hear a lot.
Yeah, he was like a name we would hear a
Not
lot
a
when we were
lot,
younger.
Yeah.
And then that's why I turned out, I was like, Gore Vidal. My mom used to say something about him.
Yeah.
But then looking back, all the things my mom hated are people I would like now.
Right.
So my mom would have been a mailer guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So who?
Exactly.
Yeah.
My dad.
So who is Norman Mailer and who is Gore Vidal?
So they were both
Outside of-
writers. They were both
Okay.
writers. But Norman Mailer considered himself to be like the next. Who is that? The famous writer who was like a drinker and he was big drinker and he was like lived that lifestyle of like a horrible life.
Hemingway.
So he dubbed himself as like the new Hemingway. But like everyone's like, yeah, stop dubbing yourself that. You're just making yourself an asshole. And he's on this Dick Cavett, which is such an interesting thing to watch. He's on this Dick Cavett interview with Gore Vidal, who Gore Vidal like called him out. He was just like, this guy, he insulted his writing. He insulted the other guy's writing. He was like, I don't really like his writing. But throughout the whole interview, Gore Vidal was like, no, I like you. I think you're a talented person. I just think this piece you wrote was chauvinistic. And like, Norman was just trying to make it all about a big thing, and he was like screaming at the crowd, and he was like, "You're all a bunch of libs. You're a bunch of libs." And he was like, yeah, he literally yells at the crowd and goes, "Who's got something to say to me?" And the whole crowd was like, "You're a chauvinist piece of shit." And Dick Cavett's like, "What's happening on this show? Why is this guy going WWE?" But it's, dude, these old shows are amazing. They had, I'm sorry to ramble, but they had two feminists on, which that's what they were labeled on. I don't even think he knew his name. He goes, "We have two feminists." I don't know, whatever they are, right?
Two ugly women.
Yeah. But Dick Cavett was extremely like courteous to them, right? He was like, "Oh, what's your names again?" Which is crazy. You'd say, "What's your name?" in the middle of an interview. But also on the panel was Hugh Hefner. And they were like, Hugh Hefner's the enemy. But then Hugh Hefner had like, he said like a lot of like, he was like pretty progressive things for the time.
Right.
In that interview. And it was kind of like, it's really cool to see these things that are happening today that happened back then, right? Like there was just another one too that was the one that got me was Jim Brown was talking with this governor from Georgia who literally was like, "No, I love black people, but I love every people. I love all people." And he just kept saying, "Y'all try to make it about black. Stop trying to make it about just black. It's about everyone. Everyone should be equal." And I'm like, dude, this is the 60s. It's clear that black people are not being treated the same. So then it kind of makes you think like, well, who am I now? Am I the governor now who's screaming all lives? He was literally saying all lives matter. It was wild to see. It's wild to see how we just history repeats itself. They use the same exact arguments.
Yeah.
Not even like repeats itself, like just doesn't go anywhere. It's just like the same thing. That's the exact same thing. It just like has stayed that way. And it's like, what? Come on. Yeah, Norman Mailer was go ahead, Anthony.
I wonder if Hugh Hefner was like very progressive. It's strange to be, you're so progressive at the time, but then if you don't change your position on something, you end up regressive. Do you know what I mean?
We discussed this with my dad. Like when my dad, when I was with my dad in the comedy club, and he said to the black waiter, he goes, "Thanks, my brother," and high-fived him. And I went, "Yeah, you can't do that." And he was like, "No, in the Bronx, you called each other my brother to show that like you're brothers." And it's like, but now that's like, it's the same analogy I use. That's iPhone 1. It doesn't, the camera doesn't hold up to the iPhone 11. Brandon knows about that. My man's a new iPhone owner.
iPhone 11 portrait mode, nice. Yeah, I mean it's kind of sad when you hear stuff like that. When you're like, man, that was happening in the '60s, and we didn't. It's not done. Like you didn't fix it.
Here's what's positive about it, right? We have moved forward since the '60s. We are not in the same position. But what's nice about it is that these people that you see now who are saying these things, and you go, "Man, I feel like these people are crazy." But am I crazy? You go, No. There were people saying the same thing back then. Like, this argument's already been handled. Be strong in your resolve. Like this, look how crazy this person is saying this back then. And they're still saying this argument. So it's still crazy. Like it gives you a little bit more like to put able to plant your feet into like what you kind of believe. Except Norman Mailer. That guy was saying arguments no one's ever heard, and we'll never hear again. You got to see this guy, dude. Harumi, pull up a picture of him.
He's
The guy
4 feet
looks
tall.
like this is what I originally would imagine Anthony's dad would look like. Anthony, where do you see this guy? This is who I would imagine your father would look like. The way he sits like this, and his hair is crazy.
What do you mean? If you didn't know who my father was, this is who you thought he would be?
Yeah, just physically the way he looks and kind of. And he does a thing when he's talking to you where he'll do this. You got to look at my face a little bit. He'll be like, I mean, you're a bitch. Like he would do this thing where he'll give you a subtle smile underneath which is like so charismatic. Like, you got to also, Harumi, you got to look up him on the Dick Cavett show, because when he was young, he was like handsome, but when he was about 40 to 50, when he's like 48 years old, he looked like an insane Kramer. Dude, he's wild. You got to see him. I suggest everyone watch these old Dick Cavett interviews, man. They're so interesting. He has like John Lennon on, and they talk about like, dude, it's just such a like really, these arguments are still the same, and you get to just see where people were at this time for real. And it's one of the most interesting thing. Loopholes, not loopholes, binge hole. What do you call them? Rabbit holes. Rabbit holes. Yeah. And
Mailer, like the interesting thing, like he was a decent writer. Like he was. It's pretty. I've read a couple things, and it's like he was an interesting writer. He was kind of like a little bit along the lines of Hunter S. Thompson. Where he was kind of a journalist and a novelist. Like he kind of was just that, and that whole time, like American writing was dominated by this sort of chauvinistic brand of like white men. That was like They had like their crew, and it was weird. It was really weird. But he's a decent writer. But it's this interesting thing where you like go back to artists, right? And it's like. Can you judge the art separately from the artist? You know, because obviously you these days you cannot do that with comedy. That's not allowed. But like go back, like Picasso was a fucking piece of shit. Like there's some quote about how his drive, he found his artistic energy through ruining women's souls. Like that, he literally said that.
Wow.
And it's like, holy shit, like you're horrible, you know? But like enough time has passed where like, look at that beautiful Picasso, you know? I'm not, because I don't, that's not my style of painting. But it's weird to try and separate the art from the artist. Is that even a thing? I think with the writer, it shouldn't be a thing. It's like, nah, man, this is coming from your brain, and your brain stabbed your wife. You know?
Well, you have to, though, but that's the thing, right? You don't get, now that's the thing you have to, and if this is essentially to say, but you don't get those, if everyone is the same, if everyone is 100% perfect, you're not getting good art. You need disturbed people to make shit. And guess what? Sometimes you want to read a good book. That guy had to have stabbed his wife a few times. Also screamed he was trying to cut out the cancer and then went to a psych ward for 5 days. So it's like, you know, you're going to get good shit from people like that. Really interesting shit. You know what I mean? I mean, it's crazy. You're ruining people's lives, but you're also, it is, people, we have to just accept people, I guess, as what they are. And look, the way I look at it is you don't make it personal. You have to understand the laws, you know, like we have laws for these things. I get the laws aren't perfect, but if you break a law, you pay the prime. I'm not the judge. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the one who judges you. The law, if you stabbed your wife and they let you out, then for whatever, like, it's like, for the most part, it's like, you shouldn't feel bad about, like, I won't buy anything from OJ, but that's just because I don't like OJ. But, you know, I'm saying you have to be able to, you have to take yourself out of it and go, you can't. Dude, I'm sorry to just go on, but last night I was watching this Dick Cavett. I was going to post about Dick Cavett, and I was like, wait, should I? I don't know what he's done. Now I'm like, now I have to look through all of Dick Cavett's life to see if he ever raped someone or said the N-word before I start posting his interviews. And it's like, what the fuck am I doing? It's all too much.
Yeah, well, especially secondhand that way, where it's like that there could be blowback on you for posting about some guy when you're like, what do you want? We got to know everything about everyone now to to enjoy them. And I mean, I've never in my life heard of someone taking longer to find a picture of Norman Mailer.
My internet's messed up. Sorry. I was looking for it too. I couldn't find the crazy picture. It just looks like a regular guy. So, YouTube viewers at home, do your own research. I'm sure you'll pull up the link.
Do you allow me to share my screen? Sorry, Anthony. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got it.
No, I just thought you were searching for like the perfect article.
I was.
You just weren't satisfied with any of them.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
Gore Vidal.
Oh yeah, what's Gore Vidal?
I believe, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he was more of a political writer. Is that correct? He was kind of a columnist.
I think you're right. They both did run for politics. Gore Vidal did run for some kind of office. So that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I could be completely wrong, but I believe he was a writer and a political strategist.
It's like a public intellectual kind of guy.
Yeah, but I mean that's I don't think I've ever read anything by Gore Vidal. I may have unknowingly. I do believe he has.
It was like an essayist or something.
Harumi, can you let me share my screen?
How do I do that?
I think he has written some fiction as well. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. I just don't know that much about Gore Vidal, but I do know enough to know I think he's a better person than Norman Mailer.
I mean, you could see in the interview he's a better person. He's literally letting the other guy talk. You know, it's like on the very basics conversational thing. He's like, he literally was like, no, I want to hear what you want to say. I respect you. Now, I'm sure Gore Vidal, his own way was insane, but like just watching them, you go, this man is a goddamn maniac.
Well, what's interesting to me is like, I think our attention span as a society for like we don't have those shows anymore. Really, you have your Sunday morning political roundtable shows, but in terms of prime time, where it's just people sitting around talking, that's gone. It's like, no, we need carpool karaoke. We need 5-minute clips. We need shareable shit. Like, do we have anything that's the equivalent of like bringing together?
Well, I think Rogan really, I mean, I do think that like Rogan and podcasting, he was doing the Rogan show. He was having intellectuals and like he was doing what Rogan does now, doing longer interviews, you know? And it's like, oh yeah, Rogan didn't invent this. This was what people loved before we went into that hole of make it hot, make it shareable, make it quick. You know what I mean?
Which is sort of sad that that's not mainstream entertainment anymore, because that's so much more. Just you learn so much more, you know. Like I think
you get to see people be crazy too. It's kind of nice to see people aren't coming on like he's just happy. There was moments of silence in these interviews. Like there was just like moments of silence where the people are thinking for a second, and you're like, oh, I love that. I love the fact that they're thinking. So Jim Brown, also I gotta say, Jim Brown, I don't know if you guys realize how absolutely fucking cool this man is. Jim Brown is sitting next to a guy who's pretty much saying, you know, like black people suck. And he's just kind of like scratching his hand, being like, hey man, I want to hear what you want to say. But that level of like, to be in that level of the civil rights movement and then have a Georgia governor next to you saying some old bullshit and not choking him out and remaining not angry, not screaming, not anything. It's like, you got to give those guys fucking credit. Just those people who are able to maintain while they're getting hosed down and shit, not being allowed. The guy was arguing segregation and integration, right? What I thought was really interesting was to see how people are able to manipulate laws, right? So what he was saying with segregation was, no, I believe in, he goes, I don't think that people should be segregated. I think that people shouldn't, but I also don't think people should be forced to have people they don't want in their schools. Like he was like, we're forcing integration is against what he believes as well. And I was like, oh, this argument doesn't age well, but I also understand where you were coming from, where you were like, well, if it's all about forcing things, if we're forcing people, we shouldn't be forcing integration into schools. And you're like, oh, you're using the taking away my freedoms rule again, away again. And it's like, we still use that argument. Don't wear a mask. You're taking away my freedom. Don't force me to be in school with people I don't want to be in school with. You're taking away my freedoms. And it's like, whoa, man, it's just wild to see the same arguments come back. Almost like, are you going back and watching these interviews and taking those, or are we all just this fucking stupid?
It's also crazy because it's like that argument is like, so your argument is like you're against it, but if the people in the school are racist, they should be allowed to be racist. Like, you know, like if the school is racist and they don't want black people there, look, I'm not against segregation, but unless someone wants it, then it's fine. And it's like, that's not how that works. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
You have to force people sometimes with things like to move forward. You have to sometimes you have to push it a little bit, which is like, because people not everyone is. There's a lot of fucking idiots.
Jim Brown's a fascinating character because he, was first of all, they had to change the rules of lacrosse because of him. Totally. And then he was one of the greatest running backs of all time. He was close friends with Muhammad Ali. He was an actor. Like the guy, just what a life to have done all of those things.
Mars Attack was so good. He punched that alien right in the face, broke the glass.
Yeah. Now
he
has some controversy too. It's like everyone has controversy because he was, he's a Nation of Islam guy, and there's a lot of, that's technically, I think, classified as a hate group now. But so everyone has controversy.
We all got problems.
Jim Brown still goes to the Browns games. I don't know why.
Named after him.
No, it wasn't. But it should have been. It was named after Paul Brown, the owner, which is crazy. That every other team was going like, we'll be the Vikings. And Paul Brown just goes, well, it's my team, Browns.
I love that. They'd be the Corluzos, the New Jersey Corluzos.
Yeah.
No one could spell it, and the names are too long to put on jerseys.
But Jim Brown still goes. And I'm like, dude, you retired 50 years ago, and they lose every game. You don't want to just stay home? He loves it.
Oh, also, if you want to see another interesting video, look up on the Dick Cavett show. They did a Muhammad Ali talking about computerized boxing matches. So in like the 50s or 60s, whenever Muhammad Ali was on that show, and he's whatever year Muhammad Ali was in his prime, they had him fight. I think it was like some famous boxer. I don't think it was Joe Louis. May have been.
Oh yeah. What are you talking about?
But it wasn't. He didn't fight him. They did a computerized. The computer would tell you. And like, you're like, wait a minute, computers weren't around back then. But what they had were like these, the way it was explained was that very basic computers. And what they did is they made the two guys act out the fight. So they weren't actually punching each other. They would like pull the punch right before the face and do like, put fake blood on. And they did like essentially computer simulated fight between these two boxers, because I think Joe Louis wasn't in his prime, or whoever the boxer wasn't in his prime. So they wanted to see who would actually win if the computer tells you. And then the computer did like a readout of like the facts. But it's like, this is the 50s they were doing this shit, or 60s. I don't know what year, but it's just a wild thing to see. It's hard to say because Muhammad Ali just started going on and on and on. And then they just kind of went to commercial and came back. And the other guest was like, I don't know what that guy was talking about. So he was saying something racist happened. So I don't think Muhammad Ali won in the computerized readout of the fight, but it was.
It was it? Didn't they do? If he was saying something racist, did they do Muhammad Ali versus Rocky Marciano?
No, what he said was racist. He was calling the computer racist.
Oh.
He was like, "Nah, the computer's fucking racist." Like, I think the people who were putting the numbers in the computer were like doing like, it wasn't right, but it wasn't that. It was him fighting a boxer who was way too old. So they were trying to see like kind of like in that Rocky movie where they're like, who would win, Rocky or Mason Dixon? It's that shit. That's that.
All right, I think that's gonna do it for today, right, Harumi? Where are we at time wise?
Just about, yeah.
All right. Guys, Greg, you want to tell them what's going on the Patreon right now? It's pretty fun, actually.
Oh, yeah, sure. We're just doing everyone gets an episode. So for the Patreon, there's 3 episodes, and we're just to kind of spice it up a little bit. Everyone's getting their own episode. It's going to rotate every week. But,
not you
Anthony,
guys.
Not Yesterday you. Was Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony got his episode where he did this amazing race episode, which would be up. That's for $5, and we had to go on an amazing or $10. We're on the Amazing Race thing, and then tomorrow Brendan is doing his, which will be up whenever, and then I got my. So everyone is becoming the director of their own episode, which I think is going to bring out a lot of fun and crazy shit for the Patreon. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, Patreon.com/Rad Dudecast. I will be in Louisville, Kentucky, Thursday through Friday at the Comedy Caravan.
Nice.
Cool.
Anthony, where you at?
July 17th and 18th at the Comedy Connection in Providence, Rhode Island.
Nice. This Saturday, I'll be with Louis Katz at Soul Joel's Comedy Club. It's an outdoors show, so feel free to do whatever you want to do. God bless America. God bless the Saints. I'm a Saints fan now. I can tell you that.
Big Drew Brees guy.
I don't even know who's on the Saints. All right, Harumi, cut us.